folks, welcome back to the channel. This is Mile High Beach. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Pleshette.
And you can see the top of his head here.
You can see Charlie's I guess he's gonna participate in this video too.
Well, we're actually pretty excited about this one today because we're actually going to start doing reviews of the rallies and conventions that we go to. And this is our first rally, the FMCA conference. You can see we have our shirts on.
FMCA shirts.
Our FMCA shirts. So this is the FMCA 104th International Convention. And it was, the dates that we attended were March 19th through the 26th.
And again, just a reminder, FMCA is the Family Motor Coach Association.
Yeah, well, so that's a great reminder. So, Family Motor Coach Association, and when you're seeing RVs driving down the road, a lot of times they have their membership placards hanging on their ladders or on the side of their RVs, and it's a black oval, and it says FMCA on it, and has their FMCA number, so that you'll know, now that you see that, what that is. All right, and so a little bit about the FMCA, and we'll put a link to their website below, but this was an organization that was originally founded for motor coaches, which are the big, bus type Class A recreational vehicles. Originally formed for that group of folk, and then when did they?
I don't know when they opened it up.
Yeah,
we'd have to look it up.
Yeah. So at some point, they opened it up to all types of RVs, and so
fifth wheels, and travel trailers, and
pop-up tents,
and pods,
yeah,
and everything that you can pretty much camp in now is welcome to join.
Yeah, yeah. And so they have, I think it's 2 times a year they have the international conferences, and then they have a lot of local and regional, groups that meet and do various things.
They have like chapters.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of chapters that represent all different types of demographics, for full time and the Elks. I think had one, and just all different kinds of regional chapters that also you can join or participate in their functions.
And one other thing I'll say about the FMCA, which was pretty astounding, is so they have a membership and it's like $79 or $80 a year, but the benefits that you get for being an FMCA member are great, and they're different from other types of memberships. So like here's an example. One of the things that we've heard of that a lot of people use FMCA for is the tire discount.
Yeah.
If you've ever looked at the tires on a Class A, you would want to get a discount on those. Yeah. So tire discounting, and what's another?
They have health benefits.
Health benefits,
health insurance.
Yeah.
They have emergency benefits if
you're
stranded.
Yeah.
They can come help tow you.
Yeah.
They can even drive your RV if you need them to.
Yeah, like so for instance, if you have a couple and one of you doesn't drive the rig and the other one does, and the one that drives is the one that's sick that can't drive, FMCA will send someone out to help you navigate that RV safely back to wherever you designate. So some really spectacular benefits. Like I said, we'll put a link below to the FMCA so you can check that out. And a quick shout out to my sorority sister Tracy for telling us about FMCA, because her mom and dad are in FMCA and have been in FMCA for years, and so we were just so grateful to get that information.
And one of the things, I guess, and I don't know if we're going to touch on it or not, but one of the founding charters, if you will, or reasons behind the organization was for education.
Yeah, and safety.
Mm-hmm. So that's really what they're all about, is making sure folks that are out RVing have the necessary resources and tools and are knowledgeable of all kinds of safety matters.
Yeah, and we will actually get into a bit of that because we attended seminars, and we participated in the whole meal deal. So where did we stay? So this event was held in Tucson, Arizona at the Pima County Fairgrounds. The area for the RVs was in a gravel lot. So, this is a fairground, right? And so typically you have, big, huge fields and some paved areas. We were in a dirt lot, and there were some people that were out kind of in the North 40 in like big lots. You know, we happen to get a full hookup. All right, so let's talk about the hookups. You know, in a fairground, you can have a lot of different options for hookups. We were just, and you might have seen our video to this, we'll put a link to these two Mar Fairground videos that we did, but at the Pima County Fairground, there weren't a lot of full hookups.
There weren't. I don't know how many there were. I think it was definitely a limited number. They did have partial though, because they did have some that had electricity.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many full hookup there were. I mean, we could try to guess. Because that whole field we were in was full hookup.
Yeah.
And I don't know, those rows were probably 20 rows deep, and there was at least 4 or 5 rows, so maybe 100 full hookup, maybe?
That's a lot.
Which is pretty good.
I mean, at Del Mar
doesn't have that many.
No, doesn't have nearly as many. So, you know, every fairground's going to have something a little different. And one thing we noticed about this one is that the, you know, the water, sewer, and the power, it looked like it had been put in the last decade.
Yeah.
Different from Del Mar.
It's fairly new. That's true.
So let's talk about the registration process. We registered early for this conference. The conference was in March, as I mentioned, but we were registered as far back as, I think we got registered in August, right?
August, September, yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah. And the Fmca puts out a magazine every month, and in the magazine there was an invitation to the conference and a form that you could fill out, you know, like if you wanted to fill it out and mail a check in. Who does that? No, I'm just kidding. But you could also go online and you could fill it out that way as well, which is what we did. We did an online registration, and that was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it was actually quite easy. They I mean, I'll say, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but from a technology perspective, I think Fmca was doing very quite well.
Yeah.
You know, they were very much you know, technology forward.
Yeah, which is really interesting. I mean, because this is, you know, people, you know, when you look at the Class A community and you look at the Fmca membership, these are folks that are typically retired, you know, 60 plus. And so, yeah, they were super on top of their technology. You know, one thing that they had that I really appreciated, and they did this multiple times, is they did it was a live YouTube recorded first timers onboarding kind of welcome thing. So you could get on and they'd go through some specifics, and a lot of it was in the packet that they mailed to you. But you know, if you're not one of these people that reads all that stuff, it was great to follow.
And it was quite a bit of stuff in the packet. We'll talk about that in a minute. But
yeah,
you know, the packet had a lot of information and kind of directions to go here and then go look at this and go read that. It was a little bit kind of like a scavenger hunt. I kind of laid it all out on the counter and just kind of figured it out. But, so the videos were actually quite helpful to kind of walk you through that and then answer questions. Yeah. There was a kind of a Q&A at the end of those videos.
Yeah, it was super helpful, and actually in the Q&A, that's how I found out about speaking. There was a guy that kind of jumped in and was like, hey, I want to do a talk about valley fever. And, you know, and the two hosts were like, oh, okay, well, we don't know what the lineup is, but if you email this email address, we can see if we can fit you in. And so I was like, well, I'm going to try to squeeze my little topic in there too. And I did it. That's how I found out about speaking and got picked up. And so did he. He did his talk on valley fever. And so so I just thought that was a really great resource. And it was for first timers. About the registration process. You know, we found that the registration process was quite easy. It was online. You could also register there was an application in the monthly magazine. You could fill that out. You could mail it in with your payment. They also had a first timers recorded YouTube session for anybody that was coming to the conference for the first time, or even people that just had questions. And they recorded, it was like a recorded Q&A, and it was really quite great to have that. And as many conferences as I've been to, I've never seen anything like that. We'll put a picture of our badges here too, because they also had first timer on our badges so that we can be welcomed and that kind of thing.
Yeah, people would just notice that and stop and say hi and welcome. And do you need anything? I mean, it was actually nice to be able to, you know that other people were kind of keeping their eye out for us to kind of make sure we were getting what we needed and making our way.
Yeah. Yeah, I really thought that was great. I was on my way to one session, and this woman, she just shouted out my name and greeted me and it was in such a familiar way that I actually thought, do I know her? But she was just looking at my badge and she saw the first timer. And they also have mentors. And so in the FMCA, people can sign up to be mentors, and these are the folks that can welcome, when they see first-timers and whatnot, they can do the welcoming and helping people. So that was the check-in process. Oh, no, that was the registration process. The check-in process, we had a package that was mailed to us with instructions and materials that were provided. And you said there was a lot in there.
Yeah, it was a lot of information. And the only other thing I was going to say about the registration and the full hookups is when we first registered, when I registered those to go, I guess it was about 6 months ago, they didn't have any full hookup sites. They asked me if I wanted to be on a wait list, and I was like, sure. So all they were offering at the time was electric. So we were getting ourselves all ramped
mentally
up,
prepared.
Mentally prepared to semi-boondock. And then they called about a week before the conference and said, hey, full hookup site opened up, do you want it? We were like, yes! So we didn't even have to try to boondock, but it was nice to, again, as far as that registration was concerned, they told us up front, there wasn't anything available, but you could get on a wait list, so that was nice.
And it actually worked. I mean, we've used wait lists for other things before, and we just jump on it, and we've been really lucky with that, so that was great. So back to the package and the check-in process. We got a package mailed to us, an envelope that had our name badges in it for the RV Basics class, as well as a name badge for the conference. There was placards to put on the windows. There were, what else was in there? There was a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, there was some money to use at the vendors.
Oh yeah.
I forget what they called it, some sort of
FMCA bucks
vendor bucks or something like that. There was.
That was nice.
Yeah, I mean there was a few things in there, but primarily the name badges and kind of the guide. There was the program guide.
Yeah.
Or the conference guide.
Yeah. And so that was really nice. And so we got that. So we registered around the September time frame, or got a confirmation of our registration around then. And then they said that they would mail the packages out like January or February or something like that. Yeah. And we got them just right on time. So that was great. Seminars and education. Well, one of the things that Pleshette said at the top is, one of the areas of focus for FMCA is to make sure that people are educated about their RV and they're safe. And so we attended an RV Basics class, as well as a number of other seminars.
And that was, the RV Basics class was an add-on.
Yes.
I mean, that was an extra, cost on top of your conference cost, but we thought it was worth it. We wanted to kind of get some formal training, and we've learned a ton in this year and a half.
OJT.
But yeah, we wanted to kind of formalize that training a little bit, so we signed up for that class.
Yeah, and we got certificates at the end. We'll put a picture of that so you can see our certificates at the end. So yeah, so the RV Basics class was 2.5 days as an add-on to the front of the conference. People could do RV driving classes, they could do RV backing up classes, and it was actually with the same organization that we took our RV driving lessons with, and so we got a chance to see our instructor.
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool. We got to see Rick. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Rick. We'll put a picture
who was our instructor.
Yeah.
When we first started on this journey.
Yeah.
So he was there giving lessons.
Yep, and that was great. So a couple of big takeaways from the seminars and the education. I mean, if you were at the conference and you were awake at any point in time through that conference, one big takeaway you came away with is fire safety. And we learned that in our classes as well. All the different things you can do for fire safety. And then we had a couple of things for the RV Basics. We had a couple of takeaways for that too.
Wait.
You're like, where is it?
Well, I know. I'm like, what? I don't have my glasses on.
Oh, that's right. Whoops. I have my specs on, yes. So for RV Basics, we had we learned about propane and just different things to learn about with propane and propane management, tire safety. There were some really great tips about tire safety and how tires are stored, and we already knew about the numbers on the tires, but just how they're stored and how to buy them, and then finally how to create a go bag for emergencies.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to say about the education and the seminars?
No, I mean, they covered a ton of stuff. They covered plumbing, electricity. We're just touching on the things that we really, were kind of really strong takeaways for us, but they covered everything. So this is just a snippet of what we learned over those 2.5 days.
Yeah. So Pleshette mentioned this earlier, that this group was really on top of their tech, and their social media I thought was really great. What was the name of the app?
Crowd. I can look it up.
So there was an app that they had that once you were registered and you could get into the app, there was a social element of it.
Crowd Compass.
Crowd Compass. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty. I mean, I've been to a number of tech conferences, and that was a really good app. It was well organized. It was easy to use. You could put your own schedule in there, and you can take stuff from the regular schedule and put it in there and keep your. I don't know. I just thought.
Yeah, I mean, you could select the things you wanted to go to, and then within the app you could hit, my schedule, and everything you'd selected would just become part of your own individual schedule. So it was really nice to be able to segment that from the large overall schedule.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say in general that FMCA has a really great use of social media. They had a whole Facebook group set up for the Tucson conference, which was great. And then they also posted to Instagram. And actually one of my photos that I posted on Instagram got picked up by FMCA long before the conference. So they've really got a really great social media game, and that was really impressive. The next area was food and concessions. They had them.
That was about it.
And not a ton.
No, yeah.
I mean, not a ton. They had a cantina that was on site. The Pima County Fairgrounds has a cantina on site. What would you say about that?
I would say you could probably skip that.
Yeah, you could probably skip that. Yeah.
We ate there once, and it just really wasn't very good.
No.
We're much better off finding other options.
Yeah. Now the thing about this fairground is it's kind of out, in the North 40 or East 40 or whatever it is. So there's a little bit of a drive to get to things. And so a lot of people asked about, food options in terms of vendors ahead of the conference, like in the Facebook group and other areas. But yeah, it just wasn't a great food concession game. There was a Euro vendor there that was quite tasty, and a lemonade, iced tea.
There was a drink, kind of, coffee, espresso, lemonade, and then there was, and I never got to it, there was a funnel cake. And I never got to the funnel cake guy.
Yeah.
But then within, maybe 15-20 minutes there was Walmart, right?
Yeah.
We went to Walmart.
Yeah.
And there were some restaurants over there. We just didn't go to those. But it was really just a handful.
Yeah. So
yeah, it wasn't a lot of food and concessions actually there. But there were, on the fairgrounds.
Yeah. And for the class, for the RV Basics, a part of the registration included lunch on all of the. Was it all 3 days?
2 days. Two full days. They actually provided like a lunchbox, a sandwich, chips. So that was nice.
Yeah.
It was unexpected because I don't recall seeing that in any of the materials that they sent.
And we read through all of it.
Lunch was going to be provided, so that was a nice surprise.
That was nice. Yes. Next section is entertainment. Like conferences like this, you're going to have different types of entertainment, and they had it. And we heard it because we were in a really good spot. We could hear some of it.
Yeah, where we were parked, we were very close to like the grandstands and where the bands were setting up, so we could hear it. But we didn't actually go over to any of it. Just I don't know. At the end of the day, it seems like we were reassessing things and figuring out.
Poked.
We were a little tired, and then we had a lot going on.
Yeah,
we were trying to figure out. What we needed to, because we went into the conference with a list of things that we were trying to make sure we got addressed or answered. And then we had some unexpected things happen. So, at the end of the day, we just kind of got back, ate some dinner, and then kind of figured out what we were doing the next day.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Now, on-premises transportation, so things like trams and golf carts, they really had a really strong golf cart game. Now, you could rent a golf cart yourself if you wanted to, but the conference itself just had a bunch of just free golf carts that the volunteers were driving around and would take you. You'd come out of your class and they would be like, do you want to ride?
Yeah, they'd be right there, like Johnny on the spot. Because they asked, I don't even know how many times we got asked if we wanted to ride.
I'm like, check me in 15 years, yes.
Well, and we were so close.
Yeah, we were close.
We were so close to where all the main activities were that, it just didn't make any sense. I think we got a ride once, and
so we were carrying too much.
I think we were carrying a bunch of stuff, so that was the only time we got a ride. Was one time.
Yeah,
but it was nice that it was available. Because some people, like Alicia said earlier, they weren't parked close.
Yeah.
Some people were parked pretty far away.
Really
so,
far, yeah.
It was a nice convenience to have.
Yeah. So number 15 is available services. So things like rig wash, awning repairs, RV repair. That was really quite nice. There were people that were registered vendors through the FMCA who were providers, who also had tables or setups in the vendor area, and then there were people that were just kind of rolling through the campground, and we used a couple of those services.
Yeah, we used the rig wash, right?
Yep.
And then we had a repair. We actually had a repair that we needed, our water heater.
Yeah, that was the unexpected.
That was the unexpected. Our water heater on what, day 2? I think we had barely been there.
Yeah.
Stopped. We had a leak.
Yeah.
We had a leak, so we weren't getting any hot water into the rig.
Yeah, and we had a reported ongoing issue that we thought was a check valve issue, and it ended up that that's what needed to be replaced was the check valve.
I guess it finally just stopped working.
And I was just grateful that we just happened to be at a place where you had all these service providers. I'm like, what a perfect time to have something fall apart. So there we go. Yeah, and so the next area is special moments. We had a number of special moments at this conference. We got a chance to meet some new friends, Vicky and Jim. We got a chance to meet the Freedom Rollers, which is a group of FMCA RVers. That was really exciting. We got a chance to meet Meg and Phyllis from the RVing Women. We met them in the vendors, and then Phyllis and
Pat, who stopped by.
Yeah, because we had a little happy hour. Not really the last night, but the night before the last day of the conference. We had a little happy hour. And we got a chance to meet Jason and Dylan from Our Not So Perfect Life.
Yeah.
And so they're a YouTube channel that we follow. So that was great. What else? Oh, and I got a chance to speak. I had mentioned that earlier, but just getting a chance to speak. So I do a lot of public speaking, but it's been over Zoom over the last 2.5 years. So to be in front of people in an audience was very energizing and different again to do that. Let's see. Did we catch everybody here for? I think so.
Yeah, I think we did.
So top 3, bottom 3 for the conference. What would you say?
So the top 3, I think that we were thinking, or the access to the vendors. Just a lot of vendors, all in the same place, all available to answer questions and basically provide their services.
Yeah.
So that was definitely one of the top 3.
That's a big top 3 because we had a fire suppression system installed. We had shades, custom shades made for a couple of key windows just to control heat in the RV. And so when you have
tire covers
from the same people, the MagnaShade folks. And so to have all of these folks in one place, because they're scattered around the country, and where are you ever going to find them all in one place? That was a game changer.
That was nice.
Yeah, we did have to go into this with a budget. and we did, and it was a good thing so that we didn't come home with a different rig, but
because there was an RV expo.
Of course, there's an RV expo there.
So they brought in all kinds of beautiful Class A's vans and
some
fifth
point
wheels.
homes.
They had a lot of so it's a good thing we had set that budget.
Yeah, it's a really good thing. So the vendors in one place and having the services in one place. So RV wash, and then having the RV repair. What was the name of the RV? It was RV
R Factor.
R Factor. Yeah. So
Chris Ratcliffe.
Yes.
And his wife.
Yeah.
They were the ones that had the service, repair service.
Yeah, and we appreciate that.
So he was the one that came and helped us.
Yeah.
And then
the conference app. I would say that if we look at a top 3, that the conference app was definitely a plus. It just helped us to navigate and really smoothly, get through the conference.
And even though we call out the vendors kind of specifically as the top 3, it was through some of the seminars that we learned about the vendors.
Yes.
So they kind of go hand in hand. The content of the conference was actually good.
Yeah.
But it was also by attending some of the seminars after we went to our RV basics training, just some of the seminars that they had scheduled throughout the week. Those where we learned about the vendors.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of vendors.
We didn't even get a chance to get to all of them.
We didn't even get to see all of them. So.
Yeah.
But those are definitely the top 3.
Well, we actually had a top 3 and I added 3 more, but fire safety, connecting with new friends, and then getting a chance to actually weigh the rig and get an explanation about what the heck all those numbers mean, and how to tie them back to the CAT scan.
That was a great service. There was a guy, what are they, RV Safety?
Yeah.
I think it's what they're called.
And what was it?
Trey and Susan.
And Trey and Susan
are the couple that run this company, and they literally have the ability to weigh your rig. They have these, I think
we'll put a picture,
these scales, hand scales that they are sliding underneath your wheels and then telling you to roll onto them, and they're capturing the numbers. And the great benefit to that is now I think when we, not only do we know how much we weigh, but now the next time we go to like a cat scale, now we know we can actually make sense of those numbers a little better. So that was again one of those great vendor kind of finds. And we'll post a picture and information about Trey and Susan's business. Yeah, all of the vendors that we did business with, we will post a link to their post a link in the description below, and then when we get the product and begin to use it, we'll talk about that in a future video as well. So we have three bottom. Well, we have a bottom three for this conference. Things that just didn't go so well. So the first one was dusty, waspy venue. Yeah, there was it was, I mean, I think you said in the beginning, we were basically in a dirt field. And thankfully it wasn't too windy. I think the weather was actually pretty good. It actually was, yeah. It could have been worse. It could have been a lot worse. But the heat brings out the wasps. The wasp game was crazy. The wasps were all over the place. I mean, you could barely open the door. They were like, trying to get into the car. And these were giant wasps, they were not little baby. They're not little. So they were, it was between the dust and the heat. And again, the heat wasn't so bad, but because it was warm, it was enough to bring out the wasps. Oh, for sure. Yeah. The other thing is the vendor hours. You know, we're new to the conference, and we're trying to go to all this stuff and learn all this stuff. And the seminar started at 9, and they're over at like 4:30, and the vendors open at 9 and they're closed at 5 o'clock. So we're like trying to run from seminars to rush over to the vendors, and so that's part of the reason why we didn't get to all the vendors. And part of the reason why we were able to keep our budget. And yes, part of the reason why we don't exceed our budget. Because had we found more vendors, who knows what might have happened. Yes, precisely. Speaking of vendors, we forgot to mention, because we signed up for fantasy tours? Oh yeah, RV fantasy tours. Yeah, we signed up for fantasy tours. And we'll put a picture of that signing up too. We signed up for the Balloon Festival, so we're actually excited to be a part of that. Not this year. Yeah, next year. Next year. Yeah. And we'll put a link about that. They're basically kind of a caravan tour company for RVers. So we thought we'd just kind of dip our toe in. Yeah. We'll go to the Balloon Festival next year. Yeah. And then the last one of the bottom three were the food concessions. Yeah, I mean, I'm not that troubled by it because I can't eat half of that stuff anyway. Yeah. So, but just to be able to have the availability of it is nice. It would have been nice to have some food trucks in there or something like that. But yeah, they didn't. That wasn't the best. No, that wasn't great. Yeah. One other thing so would you say is that this is a thumbs up and a paw up for us to go to the FMCA International Conference? Yes, absolutely. I think it was a great experience, a great first-timers experience. So if we are, in an area where we might have an opportunity to attend another one, I would definitely plan on going. Yeah, and actually one of the things that one of the ladies said at the conference, I can't remember her name, is that she said that, once you're an FMCA member, you can go to any FMCA event, and we are actually planning to do that. There is the California CA group is having a celebration at Mule Days in Bishop. Which is kind of our next stop. Our next stop. Yeah. So yes. I've never been to a Mule Days. Yeah, we've never been to a Mule Days. So interested to see what that's all about. Yeah, so we'll check that out. So that is it. The FMCA conference, the 104th International Conference held in Tucson. It is a thumbs up. 2 thumbs up, and a paw up from Charlie. Yeah, raise his paw, but he's gone to sleep. So yes. But if you've been to a conference that you really like, any conference, whether it's FMCA or not, let us know. I mean, we're interested now in kind of the conference / rally, activities. Yeah. So if there's one that you think is great, if there's an organization that puts on a really nice one, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear about it. Interested in, and if you've been to an FMCA one, let us know your experience. Yeah. We definitely had a good time. Yeah. One thing I'll say about this too, one final thing is that, we're still sort of in COVID, right? And so we wore our masks. Whenever we were inside any kind of event, and then when we were outside, we took them off, and then when we were, like our happy hour photos and stuff, we're outside, and we're in open air, and so there's still ways to enjoy these things even when you're, still in the pandemic, and so that's just one final point I wanted to make. Yep.
So until next time, until we go to our next FMCA or our next conference event, we'll see you soon.
And we invite you to
like, yes, and subscribe, and hit that notify button.
Hit that notify button so you know when the next video is coming.
Yes. All right.
And now we will see you next time.
And now we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye.